So you haven't completed the entire traverse.
No.
Now that you've kind of sobered up and the agony has gone, and you're dried out, you're thawed out. Is it possible you might go again? I know, Brad, you talked about your 40 different hex treks that you want to do. So I know there's a lot of other treks that you're considering on your spreadsheet. So what's the story, Sam?
So the tradition of the mountain man backpacking trips is really about variety, and we try to do a lot of different things. We've visited how many continents now? Four, five
I think four,
continents?
maybe five. I think this made it five.
Yeah, and so I think we're unlikely to go do it again just because there's to do. But if I did do it again, and I wouldn't rule out taking, for example, my wife to go do parts of it, that'd probably be, you know, if I did it again, it would be with her, and it wouldn't be backpacking; it would be more like day trips.
Yeah, I understand. By the way, we talked about this, but the Morocco High Atlas Mountains, if you want to return to the African continent, is an amazing trek, and you can again set whatever distance you want to do. But if you
Yeah.
go there, it's just phenomenal. You definitely want to come after March. It's in the northern hemisphere, and then after March the snow starts to dry out. I did it in March, and it was rough. April too. So May is good and good time to go if you ever go that. Any advice you would give to people, Brad? Graff, tell us your advice.
Uh, well, I think the whole weather thing, plan for a variety, bring some extra stuff with you, and then check the weather forecast before you take off. On the whole rain thing, um, I think one of the things that like Sam said, we're not strangers to hiking in the rain, but having gone through this, I might have brought some extra like trash bags, and I would have done a better job of separating the wet stuff at night, or so yeah, you really keep the wet stuff wet and keep the dry stuff dry. The sleeping bag was okay, thank God, because that would have been the bad one. But just the rest of the stuff just all didn't stay as dry as it needed to. And the other thing I think we would have done is, or should have done, is look more at some backup options. I know they have all these caves there, and we didn't go in any of the caves. We knew of them. We're like, we're gonna be fine. We have all of our gear. We're tent sites, blah blah blah. But had we known more about the caves, there was nobody out there. I doubt anybody was in these things. But we just didn't know how hard were they to find, how big were they, that kind of stuff. And it would have been a nice backup option for, hey, you could always hang out dry in a cave in a tent. But that really wasn't an option for us.
Got it. Sam, tell us about what's on your short list for your next adventure.
Well, it's got to be something exotic.
The desert, maybe?
Maybe haven't done that yet. Um, it's got to be exotic. It's got to be hard, but not too hard. And this very crucial distinction, can't tell you we've quantified it yet, but there is something, that's too hard. And we were right there on the border with this, especially with that last day. We almost broke some people on the last day. Although the last mile, I think everybody was pretty much jogging into the hotel. They were so excited to be down off of the mountain.
Hey, Brad,
Uh,
tell us about the other. You said you were with three other people, correct? So how did they fare?
Right.
It sounds like one of them fell and hurt themselves a little bit.
Yeah.
there was a little
So
blood.
yeah, no, it was great. It was we had Patrick, Jamie, and Gabriel, and uh, nobody had really any gear, so it was kind of fun, the whole gear thing. Um, Sam and I are very we'll call us gear oriented people. We 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 research stuff. If there's a latest model that saves a couple of ounces, that's 10% better. Of course, we're going to get one, maybe two, because
Did you need a backup?
so and, and we have our spreadsheets with all of our stuff. So I think the guys were a little I don't know if I'd say scared, but like what's the
Intimidated?
word? Intimidated by, oh my God, there's this 3-page spreadsheet with all these things and everything's weighed down to the ounce. But I will say the guys really stepped up. Jamie sent us back his thing and everything was down to the ounce in tenths of an ounce. So I'm like, all right, nicely done. So, I think it was mostly fun for the guys. They took some of our recommendations. They went to REI. But so we were pretty well geared up. I think they enjoyed it. Sam and I had talked about on the trail actually. We're like, hey, do we want to talk to the other three guys about Mountain Man 2024 and kind of brainstorm some stuff? And we decided on day 4 come on this because just the idea of doing something else at this point, we need to let them just process this trip first. So we've decided to hold off. In fact, Sam and I have a call this week. We're gonna come up with our short list and for next year, which is going to be our 10th one.
Oh, that's fantastic. So let me know what is that short list going to be like, and I'll put it in the show notes. Obviously, we can't do it now, but it'll be when I publish this episode. Everybody else can see because they're curious because you have really scoped the world and you've got an amazing fucking list about all these great hikes. And so I'm very curious. What's your best guess right now? Just give us a sneak peek. What do you think, Brad?
Oh,
Or
I
Sam? No
we
guesses.
Well,
we talked about.
you talked about Atlas, right? Atlas Mountains
Yeah, the
in
Atlas Mountains, the
Morocco.
high Atlas Mountains of Morocco, that would be a pretty epic trip. The reason I like it is that you have a chance to also run into these people who live in these villages without electricity or, running water, and they're just
Right.
way up there, and that's where they live full time, and it's just so you combine a little bit of kind of it's you would call it civilization, but it's a very austere civilization, and they're there. It's safe. It's beautiful. It's so nice, and I think weather-wise, I mean, it's not going to be the torrential downpour that you guys fit. The other idea would be something like more conventional in the United States. Do either like the Arizona Trail or the Hayduck Trail. I think it's called the Hayduck Trail. Those are in deserts. They go for I think 800 miles, and so you can pick a section there, and
Right.
that's desert. I just think a desert would be good for you after all this wetness.
Maybe so.
Francis, have you done the West Coast Trail in Vancouver?
Um, no, I have not done the West Coast Trail, but I know about it. That also features ladders, just like this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. I tried to do it, but unfortunately, they had there was no options to do it because you have to reserve way ahead of time.
Yeah,
So,
that's coming up in January. I think you've done this, Francis, but you've done part of the Julian Alps, right?
oh yeah, for sure, yeah. And they're real; those are epic tricks because they're. I did it without the safety gear, and you're supposed to buy the safety gear, and because literally you could fall to your death so easily. And I guess, young and foolish, I suppose. But yeah, that is a really, really nice trail. And it's also very little water there, by the way. That's the deceptive thing because you and I, we're used to when you see mountains, there's going to be creeks and streams and lakes and shit like that. The Julian Alps is like Swiss cheese, and so all the water just like goes away. And so,
Oh.
yeah, so you're
Hmm.
sitting there. It's like, so you have to really plan your water intelligently. It's not hard, but you just got to think about it because instinctively we'll think, oh, plenty of water. It's the mountains.
Huh.
Yeah,
Right.
Okay.
but it's really beautiful. But that's a place, if you do that, Brad, make sure that you don't take a super heavy pack because the maneuvers you got to make on those ladders, I'll send you a video afterwards, or I'll put it in the show notes too. The maneuvers you got to make, you're literally climbing ladders. And even if you have the safety gear to clip on, if you had a heavy pack, it's going to be hard to pull off some of those maneuvers.
Well, I guess sometime in the last 5, 6 years, they did that Julian Alps trail, like circumnavigates it. And that's like it seems a little touristy. Like a lot of people do them as day hikes and sections and they
Yeah.
do hotels. And then there's the whole interior. I'm assuming you did the interior.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, and it's something that's perfect for your style. If you want like 5 days or something like that, you can definitely do that. Another thing that just popped into my mind, I interviewed a guy a couple of months ago in Georgia, the country of Georgia in the Caucasus. They have what's called a Trans-Caucasian Trail, which goes through Azerbaijan, Armenia, and Georgia. Those three Caucasus, and apparently it's interesting. It's might be worth checking out, and I think it could fit up in your alley too. I'll send you a link after the call. But that could also be a really interesting trail, and it's beautiful, especially Georgia. Georgia is just amazing. And the nice thing about those trails is that you can kind of dip into civilization and, recharge your batteries, stay in a real hotel or at least a hostel, and you don't have to camp out every single night. And so there's a little bit of mixed terrain there. So that's kind of cool. So it's just an idea.
Hey, Francis, one other quick question. Have you done or do you know people that have done either the northern part of India in the Himalayas? There's some stuff there, or something in the Nepal side. I mean, I don't think we're going to do the hike to base camp. And there's the whole Annapurna trek, but that's like 2 weeks. So normally we're like 5, 6 days. Do you know much about the Himalayas or have, you know?
Yeah, I have not hiked in the Himalayas myself. I've never been there. But I did interview a guy named Robert Hahn, and we talked about his trek across the Himalayas. Now, he did a pretty epic one, and I know it would be too long for your time budget. So, but there's, I think, all shapes and sizes, and everything. Everybody have told me, this one person, this is the way I sum it up. This one guy told me, after I went to the Himalayas, I stopped bringing a camera everywhere else I went because nothing compares beauty wise. It's just like, what's the fucking point of taking a photo after you got to the Himalayas? It's just apparently, and I haven't been there, so I don't know. But to me, that would be also another crazy trick that you would not be disappointed. I don't think it really matters where you go in the Himalayas. It sounds like everywhere is just eye candy. But I would look at also the Karatum, I pronounce that right or wrong. It's in Pakistan. The Karatum Mountains near K2. Just walking along to K2, that's just got to be. It's called the Karatum Highway or whatever it is. Anyway, I don't know much about it, but in case India is not the thing, but the Pakistan might be also adventurous just because, you're going into a more Muslim country, and that would be eye-opening for you. You guys like variety. That's your bread and butter. So to me, that would be on that list. And you can get the Muslimness also in Morocco too. So, but I think you need to go into a Muslim country, and that will, I don't know if have you guys been to one yet as hiking?
On one of these
Not hiking.
art trips?
Okay.
Not
Yeah.
hiking.
Okay, but yeah, I think hiking wise, it would be a great adventure because Islamic hospitality is pretty high, and so I think that'll be interesting for you to just see that and see the culture. I think it'll be cool, and to get away from like the big cities of Muslim cities. It's a totally different experience if you're out in the wilderness. All right, guys.
Okay.
Thank you so much for everything, and thanks for the update. And I definitely would love to check back on you once you guys pick your next trek, and we should just do this like an annual thing.
Sounds great.
Good.
All right, guys.
Thanks,
Enjoyed
Randy.
it.